Hello and welcome to my Art History 113 final project. This presentation will focus on two artworks from the famous Rococo artist Jean-Honore Fragonard. First, let's give a bit of information on the Rococo art movement. It took place around the late 17th century to the early 18th century. It began in 1699 during the reign of Louis XIV. Much of the art from this period was either commissioned or bought by rich aristocrats to hang these light-hearted and playfully themed paintings in their homes. The art consisted of bright colors and asymmetrical compositions, with many artists producing amazing pieces. Fragonard was one of the artists that produced the most beautiful pieces of the Rococo art movement. Sometimes you'll hear the movement referred to as its other common name, the late Barrois period, as it was then when art started to move away from the Barrois style. Jean-Honore Fragonard was born on April 5, 1732. He'd moved to Paris with his family in 1738. While he was there, he studied under Chardin for 6 months. Then later he worked in the studio with Francis Boucher, who at the time was not in the habit of taking students, but when he realized Fragonard's talent when he returned from studying with Chardin, he took him in. Fragonard competed in the Prix de Rome in 1753. The Prix de Rome was a scholarship for art students that was established during the reign of Louis XIV of France. The winners were allowed an opportunity to stay in Rome for 3 to 5 years at the expense of the state. He'd won that year. In his work, he had a focus on narrative drama, similar to a stage setting. He used light to direct the viewer's eyes around his pieces. I'm sure many have seen his most famous piece, The Swing, but have you seen his other beautiful pieces? No? Well, let me show you. The first piece I'm going to show you is a piece titled A Young Girl Reading. The piece was made in 1770 by Fragonard. It was made with oil on canvas and is currently on display at the National Gallery of Art in Washington. The piece has a subject of an unidentified girl sitting on a lounge chair engrossed in her book. Fragonard was one of the greatest painters during the time because he executed the style of the movement extremely well. The piece has a consistent characteristics of the period. The most notable is the color palette. Fragonard used a bright pastel color palette, providing a lighter atmosphere. The space between some lines have blue and yellow strokes. The background has a grayish-gray wash to make the girl stand out more, while her dress has rapid strokes of yellow with brownish-red accents applied in larger areas. As mentioned before, most of the art was created for the richer aristocrats, so the themes were on the lighter side. It was also common that the paintings were hung in homes, so they were looking for something a little more aesthetically pleasing that guests will see during their many lavish parties. In addition to the bright color palette used, Fragonard also included an abundance of curves added to the dress and the back of the chair. There's a curve in the brushstrokes on the pillow, giving it a softer, more natural look. There's also a prominent curve on the girl's hand leading to her pinky. Her profile has an upward nose with a rounded chin. This feature was popular during the art and was a prominent feature in Fragonard's works. The piece is absolutely beautiful and the colors blend very well with each other. Now, this isn't the only piece of Fragonard's that is utterly beautiful. Let's get on to the next one. The second piece I will be showing you today is titled The Blind Man's Bluff. The piece was made around 1750 to 1752 and it is also oil on canvas. The painting is about a game that was a symbol for courtship in the higher society. It revolves around the concept of love is blind. The French aristocrats favored playful themes due to their playful lifestyle they had. In this piece, Fragonard is capturing the playful theme that was sought after perfectly. The piece is set in a garden with 3 figures as the focus. These figures are dressed in expensive clothing, indicating they are of higher status. The woman's lover tickles her on the cheek with a piece of straw, while a Cupid-like figure underneath her brushes her hand with a stick. The woman steals a glance under her blindfold. This indicates that the woman is not as blind to what is going on as the lover thinks. Fragonard uses the characteristics of the movement well, sticking to the bright pastel color palette and executing the theatrical illusion that was often depicted throughout the movement's art pieces. He included both popular themes of love and playfulness in his piece. In addition, he includes the common practice of curved lines with the curved branches in the back, adding to the liveliness of the piece, as well as an implied curved line from the lover's eyes to the woman's to the Cupid-like figure. This is my attempt of recreating Fragonard's A Young Girl Reading painting. I wanted to try and do it for myself, but I didn't use traditional materials like he did. I used digital art and Procreate on my iPad. It's nowhere near as perfect as Fragonard's piece, but it was very fun to try and recreate with the pastel colors and individual brushstrokes. As we near the end of this presentation, I also want to present my sources of which I gained all the information from, both from the information on Fragonard and both of his pieces. Now we've reached the end of the presentation. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned a little about Jean-Honore Fragonard and enjoyed learning about him as much as I did.